Not many have spoken about antinatalism in the past, but among them there has been Arthur Schopenhauer.
If children were brought into the world by an act of pure reason alone, would the human race continue to exist?
Peter Zapffe.
A coin is turned around before it is handed to a beggar, yet a child is unflinchingly tossed into cosmic bruteness.
And Emile Cioran, to name a few.
We have lost being born as much as we shall lose dying. Everything. Then there was Efilism. It's antinatalism plus. It's life spelt backwards. It's just another way of saying, I believe there is something fundamentally broken in the natural mechanism of the circumstance we call life. Just another way of raising your hand and saying, yes, it is unintelligent design. No God created this, and life existing as the product of that unintelligent design has real negative consequences on sentient creatures. Evolution has consequences. Unintelligent design is going to create huge volumes of waste and sloppiness. Unintelligent design means an ocean of suffering. Unintelligent design means insufficient sufficiency, and that insufficiency is not only deep within the system, but that the products of the system, the living things themselves, are likewise not functioning efficiently. They consume more than they produce. We throw need machines into a world from which they can never derive satisfaction without imposing unsatisfied need onto something else. So I will use terms like zero-sum game to describe life, because life does precisely that. We steal energy perpetually, all to replicate a DNA molecule. A molecule that understands nothing of the price paid in suffering by the sentient creatures of this planet. We should be awestruck contemplating 4 billion years of sentient creatures ripping apart other feeling sentient creatures. Continued only out of ignorance, ego, and notions rolling around in heads about life being good. Ignoring with every breath the truth. If it wasn't for that stupid meteor impact, we'd have none of this grace and beauty and love and art. We know where 99.999% of life has been. It's only a tiny fraction, one grain of sand in an entire beach of time that human beings have spent contemplating how joyous and wonderful life is. Life is a replicating and reproducing piece of DNA. For no rhyme or reason, for no purpose, to satisfy no destiny, to do none of that. It's just an accident of biology, of aberrant chemistry. We reject this game. Efilism is knowing that life is an imposition. Efilism is understanding that all value in the universe is derived from the conscious experience of sentient feeling creatures. Efilism is the janitorial duty of trying to have a conversation with the human race about wasted suffering and the responsibility of manufacturing a graceful exit. And that's where I come in. As janitor, I will be your guide. And your first lesson is, life is consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction. That is what it is. Those are the ingredients that make up the reality of life on planet Earth. We consume so that we may reproduce. And on an island planet in an otherwise barren universe, we cannibalize each other. And fueling it all are our addictions, our crazed psychologies, our egos, our wants, our desires. We are addicted, insatiable need machines. So now let's begin. Let's start with an easy one first. Perhaps a familiar tale to show you what you already know about the folly of imposing new life. This is reproduction.
Once in a castle long ago, there lived Dr. Frankenstein. The doctor was an evil, sadistic shithead of a fucktard who delighted in creating and imposing life on as many beings as possible.
Must populate!
In his lab, the doctor had two powerful buttons, one big green button and one big red button. Dr. Frankenstein never pressed the red button, because it was the big red button, capable of ending all existence in the universe instantaneously.
Why is this even here?
But Dr. Frankenstein loved his big green button, for whenever it was pressed, it allowed him to create strong, healthy, and beautiful creatures who were the happiest people the world had ever known. However, for every 10 of these stupid happy creatures, a Frankenstein monster was born.
Life sucks.
Hideous, diseased, blighted with 1,000 horrors, miserable.
Oh, fuck. Out! Out! Out!
And banished. Some Frankenstein monsters couldn't take it and killed themselves. Others realized that if they killed themselves, Dr. Frankenstein would just keep on making more monsters, more harmables, and more misery. The monsters looked at the stupid happy creatures and realized,
we are the cost of this. We are the price paid.
And so there was only one thing left to do. It was time to pick up their axes and storm the castle.
Hello, Doctor. Are you surprised to see me? You! Stop making feeling things. No! You didn't ask my permission to be born! Ha! I don't need your permission. The happiness of most of the creatures I create justifies your life of suffering. They serve no function in the universe. They fix nothing. Nonsense. Life is a great idea. Why don't you just kill yourself? Because then I wouldn't be able to stop you. Oh shit. No, don't. But perhaps that example was too fanciful for you to truly understand my point. After all, most of us ended up on this planet due to perfectly well-meaning people, correct? Mothers, fathers, those that, although having the best intentions, saw fit to create more gladiators to compete and die here.
My child will be happy. My child will be a good person. My child will be successful. My child will be talented. My child will take care of me. My child will love me.
Why force Sisyphus to continue pushing his boulder up the hill generation after generation? Rolling the dice with someone else's life. Playing Russian roulette with someone else's consciousness. Would you spin the wheel of misfortune with someone else's welfare? Would you impose harm? Our charming lady friend who we met just moments ago was certainly well-meaning. But 9 months later, she gave birth to a monster. A womb breeds sickness. Don't be surprised when you breed sickness. Never forget that life creates monsters. I am a monster. There is nothing valuable in the universe. It all means nothing. Suffering means nothing. Suffering means nothing. Suffering means nothing. I am the nihilist. I am a monster. And I feel nothing. And I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Hello. I'm going to tell you about The child that I'm going to have, I'm going to teach him to be a nihilist. I'm going to teach him to be selfish. I'm going to teach him to take. I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to hurt him every day of his life. I'm going to bite him. I'm going to starve him. I'm going to cut him. I'm going to isolate him. I'm going to teach him to torture animals. I'm going to teach him that suffering doesn't matter. I'm going to waste his suffering. Harm must go on. I'm going to cut him. I'm going to burn him. Suffering must go on. I'm going to rape him. I am the servant of the DNA. I will harm. I will create life. And I will laugh.
But I see you're becoming distraught. I should hope that you're distraught learning that your entire lives are built out of exploitation and shit. It can be very disorienting. But that is the dilemma of the true atheist. It is accepting the fact that you are part of a waste engine, an engine that has 99 times more friction than function. That it is crude forces in control of precious commodities. Gladiators. We are all gladiators. Sent into battle by the DNA, our bodies and everything else we exist as are but the gladiator suits that the DNA wears, to compete for no purpose against other feeling things in the holocaust of survival. That's what our existence overall has been made out of. That is the heap of corpses, both animal and human animal, our civilization now sits on. It's break a statue to make a statue. The basic function is the same. The function is survival by any means necessary. Whatever can happen, can happen. No umpires, no rules, no Marquis of Queensberry sophistication, just a blood sport, for nothing in the end, just a raised hand. I win, you die. Cannibalism. Cannibalism has many forms. It is not necessarily simply the act of one human eating another, but a word that perfectly describes the obscenity of the natural meat grinder. Make no mistake, nature is the cause of most of the suffering on this planet. Nature is a brutal, brainless force, completely unsympathetic to the agony of the neurons and consciousnesses in its path. Consider just for a moment this one little horror, a panicked baby elephant, lost, alone, whose mother has been killed in the belly of your precious Mother Nature.
Why? You killed Mama! You killed Mama! You killed my Mama! I'm scared! Mama! They're hurting me! Mama, they're hurting me! I'm thirsty! Oh, there's things chasing me everywhere! I'm gonna die out here!
What of the slaughterhouse pig, who lives an existence of abject misery, all for the benefit of our addictions?
Why won't you help me? They're hurting me so bad. Please stop hurting me. It hurts. Please stop hurting me. Why won't you help me? Why won't you help me? Why won't you make them stop?
And what would be your glib response to his agony? That's just life? That's just nature? And what if the animals could not only speak, but truly had the time and ability to think about what they would really like to say to us? How do you think the animals would condemn life if they could? How many of them would demand Dr. Frankenstein's red button? What memes do you think would fall from their lips?
Your children will be the rapists, murderers, pedophiles, and torturers of the future. And your children will be their raped, murdered, molested, and tortured victims as well. We want the right to not exist. We want the right to say no, to be no individual, to be no animal, to be no gender, to be no nationality, to be no winner, to be no loser, to be no consumer, to be no reproducer, to be no cannibal, to be no addict. The right to be in no life, no domain, no kingdom, no phylum, no class, no order, no family, no genus, no species. The right to say no